I am Vinnie Tortorich. Folks, your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed. I'm talking about number one, Mr. Chris Shaffer. How you doing, Chris?
Doing well. How you doing, man? Now I'm craving pasta because you're playing scenes from an Italian restaurant. But,
great song from the Stranger album. I came onto Billy Joel one album before that, when he put out Turnstiles. And I think Turnstiles was the one where, the song Piano Man that everyone knows, I think that's, we'll play Piano Man at the end of the show. How about that? At any rate, I see a documentary up there. It says Billy Joel. It's like, you know what? I really like Billy Joel. And he kind of came around right when I was a teenager and really got into Billy Joel and had his albums. I don't really need to say. I know everything about Billy Joel that I need to know. Matter of fact, when he did that song mentioning like the whole song, We Didn't Start the Fire, when he mentions like 1,000 names, it was like a nursery rhyme. That's when I kind of fell out of favor. And then I just kept buying his albums in life, right? I just kept buying, like when first I had the LP, the vinyl. And then I also had the 8-track because that's what my 71 Cougar had in it. That's what I drove. That's right. I still have that car, by the way. And then when we converted to cassette, when I got my pickup truck, I bought it in cassette. And then I started buying The Stranger and 52nd Street and Turnstiles in other, like DVDs. What were they called? That's what they were called, right? No, they were called
CDs.
CDs, yeah. And just kept buying the same albums over and over because I loved those songs. They reminded me of a time in my life. So I said, you know what? I'll watch the first 10, 15 minutes, see what's doing. The first of the two is like 2.5 hours or 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I told myself, I'm watching 20 minutes. I'm 15, 20 minutes. I'm done. And I got to tell you, I watched every bit of it. And Amazon didn't even have the second part of it yet. They weren't getting it for several more days because HBO owned it. I finished watching the first part at 1 a.m. If the second part would have been available, I would have watched that all the way through. That's how good it was. And it starts like this. And I'm telling you guys this for a reason. At the beginning, Billy Joel's in this boat. And you could tell it's, he had this older boat refurbished. Did you see it, Chris?
I haven't, but I'll have to throw that on tonight while I'm working on all the small things.
Dude, it is so good. He's in this boat, and he's always been obsessed with boats. So you could tell he refurbished this old boat. And then he shows a house, this big house up on the shore. And he goes, you see that house up there? Back when I was a kid, I was working on a boat out here. I don't know if they were bringing in oysters or shrimp or whatever. I was working for this guy and I saw this big giant house, this mansion. And all I could think was, wow, who gets to live there? Who gets to live in that house? And he goes, now I own that house. I own that mansion. And right there, that's the great American story. Come from behind. His dad left when he was very young. He's living in like Oyster Bay, Long Island, or I think Higgsville, Long Island, which is even worse than Oyster Bay, I guess. It's a one-horse town, no dad. His mom has all kinds of psychological problems, right? She's bipolar. He doesn't know what you're going to get. Mom can wake up and be in the best mood in the world. And it's just him and his sister. They raised themselves. He does not have a high school degree, and the man ends up owning the house, right? That's all you know at the beginning. And then you learn everything about this guy. And you know what? I'm not going to ruin it because I know if you go, oh, yeah, he had a couple of good albums. Yeah, he sold a lot of records. And then he was sleeping with the supermodel and married her. Blah, blah, blah. No. You're going to learn that this guy had nothing. No one wanted him. Record companies wanted nothing to do with him. He was selling out arenas around New York and still didn't have big record deals. The locals knew how good he was, but he still couldn't get a real record deal, and then lost it all. That's the part I didn't know about Billy Joel. Did you know that? When you learn how he lost it all, you're going to want to go punch your television. Folks, do not have any sharp objects sitting next to you when you start hearing the part. It's when Christy Brinkley comes in. She starts telling the story of the beginning of the end, of when he literally lost it all. And he had to start from scratch. And you know what he did the second time? He did better than he did the first time. It came at a cost. He lost his relationship with Christy because he was always on the road. He then married like this young chick, because why not? And that didn't work. And now he's married to this other woman. But his story, you want to talk about inspiration. This is inspiration. I don't care if you don't like his music. I've been telling Serena for a week now, go watch this documentary. She said, I don't like Billy Joel. Okay, that's fine. Go watch the doc. I watch a lot of documentaries of people I can't stand because I want to learn I want to learn from them and about them. I think documentaries are the best thing we have when you want to learn about people, right? That's what we're doing here. So Chris, part of your job is to watch that documentary, both parts.
Where'd you say it is? It's on HBO and on Amazon?
I think HBO Max had it first, or Max, or whatever they're calling it now. And I watched it on Amazon. So it's on both 1 and 2 is on Amazon, both parts.
Not bad for a dude who, for most of the 70s and 80s, looked like a fat Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, the first time I saw him, he had boxing gloves on. He talks about that, not as far as looking like Stallone, but they both have those same kind of lazy looking eyes and the whole thing. The thing about him is he was always fighting because he was always protecting himself. Yeah, there he is. Yeah.
I can't unsee it.
Right? Yeah, you cannot unsee that. Right? There it is. For anyone who's watching on YouTube, you get to see that. Chris, there are some words I did not know yesterday, and we're recording this on the 30th of July. There are names I did not know yesterday, and I know those names today. I have a feeling that what I'm getting ready to say falls into the political realm, but I'm keeping it apolitical because I don't do politics. So if this is going to hurt your widow feelings, don't listen to this part of the show because I don't mean to hurt widow feelings. Okay. But yesterday, I did not know there was a company called American Eagle. If you would have said American Eagle, I would have said, yeah, they made the AMC car back in the day. Because there was a company called AMC and they made a car called the Eagle. If you would have said, Vinnie, what's American Eagle? That's what I would have said. First off, Chris, are you familiar with the brand American Eagle? Because this is more your age group.
There are multiple. I'm assuming you're talking about the clothing company, not the web design company.
Yeah. Yeah. The only American Eagle I know from is a clothing company that seems to make mostly denim. The other name I didn't know as of yesterday was Sydney Sweeney. Turns out, now that I've looked up Sydney Sweeney, I actually saw her in a movie once. So I knew I had seen her, and but did not know her name. if you would have said Sydney Sweeney to me yesterday, I would have thought Julie Sweeney, who ironically played an androgynous woman on Saturday Night Live named Pat. Are you familiar with that character, Chris? Or are you too young?
Miss Pat? Yeah.
Yeah, Pat from Saturday Night Live. Right. So those are the only two Sweeneys I knew. And if you were said, who's Sydney Sweeney? I would have said she played Pat on Saturday Night Live. Here's the problem I'm having. Somehow, I've seen the ads. Have you seen the ads, Chris? Do you know what I'm talking about? No?
I know of the ads just from the, let's throw out a 50-cent word from the zeitgeist, but I have not seen them per se.
I had to go see the ads because they said that these are, Hitlerian. This is eugenics. This is all this stuff, right? This is wrong. I'm like, what? Are you kidding? Let me go see. I found 2 or 3 ads. They're all very short with this actress, not Julie, Sydney Sweeney. And I'm yet to understand what it is. Do you have any information on it? I'm asking you because you always have information for me.
So the thing that I've heard about this is they're making a play on the word genes,
right?
Like genetics versus denim, which I think is the thing they're really emphasizing. And it's one of the things that American Eagle, the clothing company, is known for, are their denim products, their jeans. I had a couple pairs of American Eagle jeans that lasted me 10 or 15 years. Right? I mean, they're not the greatest jeans on the planet, but they fit well and they do a good job with their denim products. At least they did in the past.
Okay. I still wear Wrangler and Levi 501s and original Wrangler boot cut. Those are my jeans. So oddly, that's why I would. And as a matter of fact, I do have one pair of 501s left from high school, and I get into them once a year just to make sure they still fit. That's the litmus test. But I'm trying to understand why people are upset. I went on to Twitter and saw a couple of things. I went on to Instagram for 5 minutes, and that was about all I can take because the words coming out of people's mouths wasn't making sense to me. I'm not trying to be political. I don't know how it's political. First off, is it political? Is this a political thing? Or is it just people upset because there's a very good-looking young lady in these ads? As a matter of fact, one of them is very playful where the camera starts going down to her chest. And she goes, eyes up here, and then the camera pops up to her face. Clever, right? So you haven't seen it, so you don't have any information on what this is or why we're talking about this?
Just from I haven't seen the ads themselves, but I have heard some of the conversation around it. And I think the thing that there's a couple things that are coming together. One was, for the longest time, the only thing you could advertise was healthy at any size. And she is much more of a, for lack of a better term, traditionally fit person.
Right.
She's not chunky. She's not chubby. She has more of a classic model figure, if that makes sense. She's not skinny. She's fit. Right. But she's also not on the larger side of things. And I think for the longest time, that was the only thing that you could advertise without being called these things. And then you throw, she has blue eyes, right? You know, a blonde hair, blue eyed model. And you say good genes. You can't tell me that's not intentional. And of course, you're going to get all of the Twitterverse fired up if you make any sort of a joke that anyone could ever interpret in that direction to say, oh, this is about eugenics, which is the word I keep hearing thrown around. Right? It's like, no, these ads, if you're not a blonde hair, blue eyed fit chick, American Eagle wants to kill you. Like, how did you get there from here? That's been my interpretation so far, but you've seen a little bit more of it than I have.
No, that's all the ads are very short, like 10 or 15 seconds long. It's like, she goes, I learned a lot about genes. You're made up of genes. And My skin is this color, my hair is that color, my eyes are blue. Or she goes, my jeans are blue, I think is what she says. And it even shows jeans are blue, meaning GEANS. So, all right. So this is a big nothing burger is where we're heading with this.
Yeah. I mean, if you read any of the articles about it, and I think the place I saw it was Adweek, because I'm that nerdy, right?
Right.
An advertising magazine. And everything I've seen about it is like, oh, critics on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter are complaining about it. Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's, you can do anything and they'll complain about it, right? You're always going to find some subsection of it. And I think one of the things that we live through is everything is a dog whistle to Nazism, right? And if you give any ammunition to the people who believe that, them plus all of the bots on social media will
Right.
immediately blow it up. And to me, that has to be part of the intention behind this, right? Like they didn't not know what they were doing. They didn't not know that that was going to be something. And they, it is innocuous. That's not the intention of the campaign.
Right.
But to some extent, any publicity is good publicity. And the fact that everybody is talking about this means it's a fairly successful campaign, as long as it doesn't turn into everybody boycott.
Well,
And
look, everybody on the left calls everyone on the right Hilarion. Everybody on the right calls everyone on the left Hitlerian. And I'm sitting there going, Hitler was a very bad man. And that whole era was very bad to Jewish people. I feel like when we start calling everyone Hitlerian, you're taking away from 6 million Jews who were slaughtered by this fucking crazy man, right? That's the problem I always have with that. But, going back to Billy Joel, and I didn't mean to make this circle, but it's a great full circle. When his album, which one came out? I want to say 52nd Street. Maybe you can look it up really fast. All of a sudden, we're in church one Sunday morning, and the priest from the pulpit starts saying that if you have any Billy Joel albums, go home and crush them and throw them away, burn them, get rid of them. Billy Joel is a bad man and we should not listen to his music. And it was for the song Only the Good Die Young. Only the Good Die Young. And I want to say it was on 52nd Street. It might have been on The Stranger. So
it was on The Stranger.
When we got out of church, we got in the car, and my mom, it was me, my mom, my dad, my brothers. My mom goes, who is this Billy Joel? And do you guys have any of their albums? And I said, yeah, I have Turnstiles, I have The Stranger, and I have 52nd Street. And she goes, and what kind of devil music was the priest talking about? And I said, well, Ma, why don't you listen for yourself? She goes, what are you talking about? I said, we were listening to Billy Joel in this car on the way to church. Just put the cassette back on. So she presses the cassette and she goes, oh, I love him. What are they talking about? And I said, well, the song Only the Good Die Young, back then with the cassette, you had to like scrub through to get to it. I said, go ahead, keep going ahead, keep going. We finally got to the song and we're all tip-tapping in the car going, Only the Good Die Young, And my mom goes, well, what's wrong with that song? I said, in the second or third verse, he goes, come out, Virginia, don't make me wait. Catholic girls start much too late. I'd rather laugh with the sinners than cry with the saints. The sinners are much more fun. Only the good die young. That's what the Catholic Church had a problem with. I had forgotten about that until the other night when Billy Joel brought it up in the middle of the documentary, and he goes, when the Catholic Church, I didn't realize it was nationwide. I just thought it was the Bible Belt where I grew up, the Archdiocese of Baton Rouge or something. I didn't realize that the Catholic Church, this was a memo nationwide. This was handed down, right? Billy Joel says he wrote to the archdiocese of his area and thanked them and said, please ban more of my songs. This has been the best sales pitch ever, which is what I have to say about American Eagle. When you say they must have known what they were doing, because I didn't know the company existed. And although I've seen Sydney Sweeney in movies, I didn't know her name. Now I do. Right? So I'm assuming that both Sydney Sweeney and Julie Sweeney and American Eagle are laughing all the way to the bank. What say you?
They must be. And Vinny, you were talking about Only the Good Die Young. Billy Joel said, the point of the song is not as much that it's anti-Catholic. It's more just pro-lust.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's like, it's not anti-Catholic. I just mentioned a Catholic schoolgirl in it. And that's why they have their frocks in a twist over this. But I think with something like this ad campaign, one, it's not overly anything, right? Like it's not somebody standing there fully clothed, but she's also not a Victoria's Secret model in any of the pictures of the ads that I've seen.
Right.
It's an ad for denim. And so it's a play on jeans and jeans.
Right.
Genes and Jeans, right? That's all that it is. And I don't think the people that are complaining about it were really American Eagle customers anyway, because they don't have much in the larger sizes of things. They're more traditional that way, I guess, for lack of a better term.
I thought every company made plus size clothing now. Otherwise, you would be pretty much out of business, because a third of Americans, at least, are either obese or morbidly obese. And that's something I've been trying to fight. That I've put my life work into fighting that and helping people. And by the way, if American Eagle was shaming people, I would be the first one. I would go on a boycott. I would figure out how to boycott them, because I don't believe in shaming people. I've been trying to help morbidly obese people. And this is not what they're doing at all, unless I'm reading it wrong.
Yeah, so they do have some larger sizes of things, but I think their largest jeans are 38s.
That's like male size 38. That's a fair shit. A lot of people I've talked to are in the 40s, like 46 and 48s and stuff like that. So, but 38 is pretty big.
They make
right?
And I know when I was fat Chris, I stopped buying stuff there because they only had XLs, not double XLs. I could still get jeans that fit, but it was
all right, hang on, Chris. When you were fat Chris, how tall are you? Let's give the audience some sizes here.
5'11".
All right,
6 feet,
5'11".
on the day, 5'11".
All right, so let's call you 5'11". What was your top weight?
Between 250 and 260.
Okay, so you're probably right tapping past the 38 size, right?
I was a 38-inch waist, but between an XL and an XXL shirt, because I carried it fairly well distributed.
Right. Okay, so that gives you an idea of. So they're not making stuff for morbidly obese people. You know.
Yeah, as far as I know, they don't sell 2X or 3X plus stuff. At least they didn't used to.
I think
their target market is, high school, college, young adult. So that's not really who they're targeting anyway, right? Yes, there are some people that are in that demographic, especially more and more now, that are those sizes, but most people are towards the bottom end of that scale if you're in the target market for American Eagle. And they're really big overseas.
Listen, if I saw where they were fat shaming at all, now, like I said, I saw two ads. I saw the one where she's getting into like a 66 Mustang. And there's another one where she, it's like, move the camera up here, whatever. And that might have been the same ad. I don't know. I didn't do a deep dive on this, is what I'm saying. I'm just trying to figure out why people are upset. And maybe we've wasted too much time on this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed actress who made a play on the word jeans. And that apparently is anti-Semitic somehow.
Okay. Well, there you go. Well, we're talking anti-Semitism and Billy Joel on the same show. Go figure. All right, Chris, I'm going to do a quick break here, and then I think you got some news for us, and we're going to clear up a bunch of stuff for people. To purevitaminclub.com. Now, what is purevitaminclub.com? Well, it's a vitamin company. It says right there in the title. But here's the thing. I could not find a clean vitamin. Once I had cancer the first time, I went out there and tried to find a completely clean vitamin, and I couldn't. Now, if you've been paying attention to the federal government, I've been yelling about titanium dioxide for years. And I've been telling you guys that even in nanoparticles, it can cause colon cancer. So that was one of the first things I said would never go into any of my vitamins. The government just came around and said, hey, no more titanium dioxide. We're pulling it out of all foods, which is good. But guess what? There's still a bunch of excipients and flow agents that the other guys use that we don't. And by the way, they may not pull titanium dioxide out of vitamins. That's yet to be seen. That's not regular food. So some companies may still put it in. Folks, you don't want any of this crap in your body. That's why we have purevitaminclub.com. Go there right now. Check out the brand new site. We're crossing over. We have a brand new site where we have other goodies on that same site. purevitaminclub.com. Go there right now. Check out what we're doing. It's going to look completely different. And I think you guys are going to enjoy what we have going on. I'm talking to Chris Shaffer. Chris, you got any news for us?
I do. So, Vinnie, I know you sometimes feel like you're screaming into a void, but you're familiar with a company called Beyond Meat, right?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did a documentary called Beyond Impossible, and the Beyond part was about the company Beyond Meat.
They are all over the news this week because they're making a big change to their branding. They are now becoming just Beyond because they don't want to be defined by what they're not. You may sense the heavy sarcasm in my voice. No one ever thought they were me, right? But they are launching a Beyond Filet product that is going into some high-end steak restaurants. And they want to launch Beyond Milk, Beyond Eggs, and one other product category. And so they decided that now is the time to change their name because they don't want people to be confused. And it's way too hard to say Beyond Meat Eggs. So they're just going with Beyond, and then they're going to tack on the product category, which I find amusing because if you're calling it Beyond Eggs, but you don't want to be defined by what you're not, that seems like a contradiction to me. Maybe that's just me and my small meat-eating brain, but that is the big news of the week. So even though, Vinnie, you feel like you're screaming into the void, I am blaming you 100% for this branding change. Beyond Impossible did such damage to their brand that they will never recover.
Well, here's the thing. If veganism is so good, why are we trying to copy non-vegan foods for vegans? If your diet is so effing great, why are you going here? That's always been my question. I mean, I could be wrong. We don't like eggs. Hey, we got something that tastes like eggs. Oh, we don't like dairy products. Hey, we got something that looks, smells, and tastes like milk. Hey, we don't like red meat. Here's some fake red meat. First off, Beyond Meat never looked good. It never tasted good. The sausages, everything. It was just all an abomination. I don't know how they keep getting money. Who's giving them this money to keep putting this stuff out is my question. And I didn't know that fake milk was broken. You already had hemp milk, oat milk, almond milk, soy milk, all of these other things calling themselves milk that are, by the way, folks, none of them are healthy for you. You want to get instant inflammation, use any of the products I just mentioned. Instant inflammation, guaranteed. So if those products are not good for you, how is Beyond milk going to be better? Because now you have to call it Beyond milk, right? What is the product? Beyond milk. What is it? A milk-like substance. What's it made of? That's what I need to know. Are you just copying one of these other companies? And what's the Beyond Eggs? Just Eggs already fucked that up. You know, there's no way to make a worse product than Just Eggs, which, by the way, has 0 egg in the product. Are you familiar with this product, Chris?
Is that the fake egg whites
It's the
in a carton?
It's I don't know if it's egg whites. I thought it was yellows and everything, but look it up. It's called Just Egg. And the one thing about it is that, as a matter of fact, I think someone tried to sue them by saying, hey, you can't put Just Egg on the front of a carton if there's no egg in it at all. Do you?
Okay. So I'm looking at their stupid carton. This is the product I was thinking of. Vinny, the front of their carton says eggs from plants.
Okay.
How is that not just a straight up lie? How are you, other than the fact that you can put pretty much anything you want in food labels and you can engineer the ingredient section and the nutrition facts to say basically whatever you want? How do you get away? So it's water, mung bean protein, canola oil.
Let me tell you.
It gets worse from there.
Let me tell you how, Chris. Our Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, still allows you to lie on the front of packages. We talk about it every time. Villa Capelli is not sponsoring this particular show, but we talk about it with Villa Capelli every time. You could put 100% pure olive oil on the front of an olive oil bottle and have up to 40% cut olive oil in there. And the FDA still allows you to call it 100% pure olive oil, right? That's a lie. So why is this any different? So you got mung bean. What you got? How do they make these eggs again, Chris? Give that to me.
Water, mung bean protein, which probably the only time you've ever heard the word mung or mung bean, Vinny. Well, I don't know. You lived in LA for a while, but I was thinking Gran Torino. Expeller pressed canola oil, 2% or less of carrot extract, gelin gum, natural flavor, potassium, salt, sugar, which should not be in eggs, tapioca solids, all kinds of preservatives, and turmeric extract.
Yeah, this is an abomination of a food. It should not exist, but there you have it, right?
But Vinny, it's non-GMO project verified. And the front of the carton says 50 grams of protein, which, by the way, is 16 ounces. In very tiny letters, next to where it says 50 grams of protein, it says carton, right? A standard serving of this is 3 tablespoons or 46 grams, which means there are 10 servings in a container. How many grams of protein are in a single egg?
About 6. And this comes to about 5, if I'm doing the math correctly. But here's the difference. I'm assuming that most of that protein is coming from the mung bean extract. Here's the difference, folks. You could go, well, there's 5 and the regular egg is 6. Here's the difference. Every amino acid you need to build every cell in your body is in the chicken egg. Guess what is not in mung bean protein? You don't have all of the amino acids, not even close. I've had experts on the show tell me that in order to get like a pea protein or an egg protein or a hemp protein, to get anywhere near the amino acid profile of a non-animal product, you would have to have somewhere between 7 and 10 times as much. On a good day, 5 times as much. Period. That's a fact, right? So you're not getting all of the amino acids in that mung bean, even if that mung bean protein was natural, like if you were just eating mung beans that were boiled. This has been processed into 1 inch of its life. Can you imagine how much protein has been lost in that product? How many amino acids were killed off? Right? That's where we are. It's not a one-to-one here. Not at all. Go on, Chris.
So mung beans are one of the few plants that are considered to be a complete protein. But just like all of the other plants that are considered to be a complete protein, the only thing that means is that they have some of all of the essential amino acids. They're very low in methionine and lysine compared to an egg, which is essentially a perfect food from a compositional profile, right? If you look at it, everything is there in the right balance. Why? Because it's literally everything that a life needs to be alive in one shell, right? Mung beans are not designed that way. And while they do have the essential amino acids, they don't have them in the right ratios. So you're not even close when you're eating a whole mung bean. And then what you're doing is you're taking essentially just the protein portion of that. I'm assuming that's what they're extracting, right?
I didn't hear protein anywhere else in the things you said. So I would have to say it's coming from that.
Yeah. Unless expeller pressed canola oil or
That's,
gelling gum has a
no,
lot of
that's all
protein in it.
fat. That's all just fat. Hey, Chris, the bottom line is lysine is one of the main amino acids to build muscle, to build organs in your body, to build all of it. And that's not even in a proper amount. And that's the problem that people will look at protein as a one-to-one, but it's not. Animal protein, animal-based proteins from milks, from eggs, from red meat, from fish is not the same as what you get from a plant. Sorry, it's just not. It's just
the two amino acids that it lacks are two of the ones that are the most important for muscle synthesis, right?
Yeah.
Lysine and methionine. That's where it's low. And so beyond the fact, see what we did there?
Yeah.
Beyond the fact that it's just an abomination and the packaging is essentially a complete lie, there's no reason to even look at it. But Vinny, the reason I brought this up is not just because you single-handedly have crushed the Beyond stock, which, by the way, they're down another 50% since the beginning of the year. They're down, I think it's 90-something% from 3 years ago in terms of their stock market value. But as part of this rebranding, they're not only looking at launching the Beyond Egg, which is something like just egg or not egg, and the Beyond Milk, which is already its own product category, but they are simplifying and improving their formulas on things like their ground beef. So I wanted to get your thoughts on their new and improved ground beef formula.
Let's hear it.
So this is a 12-ounce package, 14 grams of fat, 8 grams of carbs, 21 grams of protein per serving.
Okay.
So on the surface, fairly comparable to ground beef.
Like a hamburger. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Water, yellow pea protein, avocado oil, which just like olive oil can be pretty much anything, natural flavors, brown rice protein, red lentil protein, methyl cellulose, potato starch, pea starch, potassium lactate, faba bean protein, apple extract, pomegranate, potassium salt, spice, vinegar, and beet juice coloring. That's their new and improved and simplified formula.
Yeah. So
compared to ground beef.
It's just a big old lump of inflammation is what I just heard. I don't know what you heard, but that's my takeaway. Just a big old giant lump of inflammation. Bottom line. Bottom effing line. Yeah. Good luck. Good luck. I can't believe that company's still around.
I'm sitting over here laughing because they have a giant warning on their site that says peas are legumes. People with severe allergies to things like peanuts should be cautious when introducing pea protein into their diet because of the possibility that they also have a pea allergy. Contains no peanuts.
All right. Do you have another story? Because I'm done with this. All right, hang on. Before you do that, I got to tell you guys something. There will be 11 NFL football players in camp right now as this podcast comes out. And you want to know what they have in their room at camp? They have Pure Coffee Club Athletic Blend. 11 NFL football players. I'm not allowed to mention their names, but they were requested by their agent that they wanted this coffee at camp with them. Chris, am I making this up? I know this is an ad. And what did we just ship out to 11 different NFL football players in camp?
Athletic Blend and something else.
Oh, yeah. By the way, the vitamins went out, and also they all got every vitamin we have, and they also got double and triple ultra salt. But the one thing that these guys did not want to live without was Pure Coffee Club's Athletic Blend, because it makes a difference. Look, we've known for years that there used to be ads called the Coffee Generation. They would show football players, rock stars, everyone else drinking coffee and going out on stage and going out on the football field. And the song Hold On Tight to Your Dreams were playing in the background. That was what they used. But these guys are not just requesting coffee, Chris. What are they requesting?
Athletic Blend.
Pure Coffee Club Athletic Blend for two reasons. Number one, it's effing delicious. It's some people frown upon it. It's like, wait, you put a Robusta bean with an Arabica, and I did that to get a higher caffeine content, but I didn't use any kind of cheap Robusta bean. I found high-end Robusta and mixed it with the highest end Arabica bean you can get. We roasted it to perfection. This coffee is delicious. I have, Chris, look, right behind me. You see it? Right behind me. I keep it right here at my coffee bar down in my office, the Athletic Blend.
Shameless product placement by you, Vinnie.
By the way, that's an accident that it's right over the top of my head right now. When the NFL starts calling for this stuff, that's when you know you're doing something right. These guys, they work at a very high level. We cannot mention their name because of endorsement deals and everything else. But Chris, is it right to say that there's some big names on that list? People that were in the playoffs, deep into the playoffs, and may or may not made it to the Super Bowl last year. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Chris is giving me a yes. So if you want to be like these guys, you too can have the best coffee on the planet, purecoffeeclub.com. And maybe one day you too can play in the NFL. Purecoffeeclub.com. Go check out the Athletic Blend. Just like 11 of the players in the NFL. I'm hoping we get more, Chris, because then I could go, no, we got 20, whatever. I just think it's cool. And by the way, they're not paying for it, folks. When I could not believe when they, this agent called and said, remember the 3 guys who gave it to you last year? Yeah. Their friends started using it. They all want this stuff in camp. It's an amazing story. Look, this is kind of like not Julie Sweeney. This is like, I got to keep looking up. This is like the Sydney Sweeney thing, right? You don't expect this to happen, but next thing you know, you got guys with good genes drinking your coffee. Yeah. There you have
Vinny, I know that this is technically an ad read, but what do you like about the Athletic Blend?
Besides,
other than the fact that it has more of a caffeine kick.
The taste. And here's why. I grew up, you may or may not know the story about the coffee. I grew up in Louisiana where I think 90% of all coffee consumed in Louisiana is called community coffee. It's a brand. It comes in a red packaging. That's why mine has red packaging on it too. And that's all I drank. Either community, I drank three. I drank the medium roast, which was my favorite. I drank the dark roast, and I also drank the one with the chicory, coffee and chicory. And when I made the athletic blend, I was going for a higher caffeine content for athletes, kind of a pre-workout. I didn't expect it to taste exactly like the community coffee medium roast, but that's what it comes to. And every time I drink that coffee, it reminds me of childhood all over again. I like it with a little heavy cream in it because it reminds me of how my grandmother used to make it in the afternoon. In the afternoon, Chris, in the summertime, 2, 3 in the afternoon, my grandmother, I can walk in the house, the coffee smell. She would put the heavy cream in it. She would put evaporated. Do you know what evaporated milk is? When they evaporate the milk?
Sugar with a little bit of dairy in it. Yeah.
No. That's
Oh, that's sweetened
milk.
condensed. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's the milk, like milk concentrate, right?
It's milk concentrate, and it's like a creamy, very creamy. And it was made by a company called Pet, P-E-T, and my grandmother called it pet milk, right? So we would I would get a little pet milk in that coffee with a spoon of sugar. And then as I got older, as my taste buds got, when I got to high school and everything, I started putting less and less sugar. I was getting all I wanted was the coffee taste and a coffee flavor, but I never stopped putting that pet milk in it. But now I just put a little heavy cream in there. See what I do? So that's a long ad, but folks, go check out purecoffeeclub.com. Get the athletic blend. Chris?
Did Vinnie Tortorich just admit to eating sugar? I think that's what just happened.
I'm a sugarholic.
You've had sugar before?
I had a lot of sugar. I'm a sugarholic. That's why when people go, you seem to know exactly where I live. You seem to know how I feel. Yeah, I'm one of you. I'm you. I know what sugar does to me. I've seen what sugar does to me. I've seen what eating rice and pasta and all this stuff in large quantities will do to you. I was becoming a fat person after I finished my college football career. Anyone who's new to this show wouldn't know that. I have a buddy I played with who, I'm not going to mention his name here. As a matter of fact, I wrote to him the other day. He's my age. We're both 62 now. He had as many scholarship offers to be a decathlete as he did to be a football player. The guy was a stud linebacker who could have been a decathlete, could have probably made it to the Olympics. He weighs over 500 pounds now. And I've been talking to him and working with him. We played ball together. I almost cry every time I talk to this guy. I want him to be healthy again. I was going down that same road after football. Hell, when I played, you want to talk about jeans, my waist was like 32, same as it is right now. I looked like a bodybuilder. I had one of those bodybuilder, it's like I had the big wings, the big lats sticking out, the big chest, the whole thing. I had the X frame, right? I had the big legs and the whole thing. And I weighed 215 to 225 when I was playing, usually closer to 225. As soon as I got out of playing and I was off of scholarship, but I was still in school, I couldn't eat on training table anymore. I wasn't eating 6, 8, 10 eggs in the morning. I wasn't eating bacon. I wasn't eating red meat for dinner every night. I wasn't eating fish or whatever they had. I was eating ramen noodles, vermicelli pasta with butter if I could afford butter, or olive oil, whatever I could afford. I couldn't even afford to buy sauce. Couldn't afford any of it. And I started ballooning up. I was still working out. I was 21 years old. I was still working out like an animal. All of a sudden, I weigh 275. I'm your height, 275. Now, I was holding it very well because I still had the big legs. I still had the big chest. I was still working out. But with all the working out, I still couldn't lose the weight. And the other thing I was helpless against was anything with sugar. I was working at Tulane, which every time I passed, they had the, they had the big jug of the Gatorade. Fill it up. Fill it up. I became a sugar addict. So when people go, how do you know me so well? Because I was there. I was right there, and I was able to change the way I was operating, even when I didn't have 2 dimes to rub together. And we've talked about this, Chris. I used to go buy the government kind of, they called it, what was it? It was like the yellow label with black. They called it generic food or something like that. I would go buy the can. It was yellow with black writing, said tuna. I couldn't even afford Star-Kissed. I could not afford chicken of the sea. I had to get the one that said tuna on the can.
Okay. You just said tuna, and that's been a trigger for me the last few days. Did you know it's very hard to find just tuna in a can? Almost all of the cheaper tuna now is tuna with soy. And
Really?
I found out this week that they sell pre-made tuna with rice in a can. Why? I've never needed rice that badly, 1.
Right.
And 2, if you're down to a place where you can only buy one thing, shouldn't you just be trying to get the tuna? Because that's actually going to be the thing that fills you up, as opposed to a can that's the same size as a regular tuna can. That's 50-60% rice and 50-60% tuna for the same price as the whole can of tuna.
Yeah.
This is it was mind-boggling to me.
Chris, I used to try every which way to make my tuna taste different. I would put yellow mustard on it. I would put salt. I would add salt to tuna fish because sometimes I put a little cracked pepper. I was doing whatever I can to change the taste of tuna. I famously used my gas money to buy a bicycle. And on the weekends, if I just get down to Donaldsonville, my grandmother, my parents, they're going to all feed the crap out of me. I would ride 75 miles on my bike through the swamp. And by the way, get beer cans and beer bottles thrown at me from trucks. Because once you get out of New Orleans and you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're on a bike with some tight shorts on, some dudes are going to come by and call you some things and throw shit at you. That's just what's going to happen. Back in 1983. Sorry.
Still would. Yeah.
Probably.
See, the trick, Vinny, is you have to egg them on so they throw more cans at you so you can collect the aluminum and turn that into more tuna.
Yeah, I can get the good tuna now.
The tuna with no soy and no rice. Fat Vinny and Fat Chris are apparently missing out on something, Vinny. Sports Illustrated has figured out the key to weight loss with exercise.
Oh, what is it?
The more you exercise, the better results you get.
Yeah, but I can tell you this.
They wrote a whole article on it.
Well, ta-da. But here's the thing. Exercise, and I've been saying this from the beginning, all the exercise in the world will not bring on fat loss. Because, I was a perfect example. I would get down to Donaldsonville after riding a bike 75 miles, low blood sugar and everything else. I would eat everything around me. I doubled what I burned in calories every single time. I didn't really understand that component of it back then. It just seemed weird to me. But exercise, luckily I kept doing exercise because basically exercise is the fountain of youth. I mean, look how damn pretty I am at 62. I'm gorgeous. And exercise, when you eat the correct diet, when you eat the correct amount of fat and protein, will actually magnify weight loss. Right? If you exercise and just eat a bunch of carbs, no matter what, your body's going to tell you just keep eating more carbs. Right? You don't feel full. your ghrelin, your leptin, your cortisol, your everything. Insulin, it's all backwards. The switches are in the wrong direction. And that happens when you just eat carbs. I can tell you, you're doing 10 steps better if you're eating carbs and eating protein and fat all together, or more specifically, carbs and protein. I did a lot of that. I think we've talked about it on this show before. I would mix my tuna fish with rice because rice is dirt cheap. And I had to fill my stomach with something. So if I had 2 cans of tuna fish, I would mix a little rice in just to extend it a bit. But you see, the major portion of that meal was the protein. And I still lost weight. I was young. I was doing all this exercise. It all worked. And I was fat phobic for a while, meaning afraid of eating fat, not afraid of fat people, because I was one of them. I wasn't afraid of me. But I was afraid to eat any fat. And then I started going, wait a minute. You eat a little bit of this stuff and you don't feel hungry for a long time. And that's when I started getting away from the calorie in, calorie out thing. And that's when I started talking to some of my professors. And that's why, folks, I was one of the early guys on the internet going, if you want to lose weight, eat fat, because it works. I did it way back then. And here I am still with the same size waist today. And God only knows I do not have the genes of Sydney Sweeney. I had to look her up again. I got it written down here. I got Julie Sweeney, Pat, and I have Sydney Sweeney written right next to each other.
That's a recipe for disaster. I think I bring this study up sarcastically, or this article from Sports Illustrated, because that's really the takeaway. The point they were trying to make is that if you are on a diet, the more you exercise, the less muscle you lose, which means you increase fat loss because muscle burns more calories on your body. Right. And we talked last week or the week before about how what goes into your body has a much bigger impact on how much you weigh than how many calories you burn or how many calories you think you burn by doing any activity. But if you can increase your muscle mass while decreasing fat, or maintain your muscle mass while decreasing fat, that is the holy grail, which is the title that they went with for this. But the real takeaway was the more you work out, the better you see that effect. It's like, yeah. Like, obviously. So if you're working out once or twice a week, that's good. If you're working out 3 or 4 times a week, that's better. And I think they stopped theirs at a 6-day-a-week routine. So they still had a rest day built in. And they said the people who worked out 6 times a week had the most muscle retention, or even in some cases, some muscle gain if they were untrained, and the most fat loss. Now, that doesn't come out from working out more. It's not because they're burning more calories. It's because they're maintaining that muscle mass and still eating on that calorie deficit that everybody else in the study was eating on.
Chris, I was watching another documentary about the late, great Ed Sullivan. And, it was about how Ed Sullivan was the first guy to bring Black people on television and all this. It was great, just a great documentary, because everyone he had on, I was a big fan of, right? And you're looking at, including Ed Sullivan, right? Everybody was lean. Everybody was just in great shape. Of course, they have to show Elvis, right, in great shape. Bojangles, you might not even remember who Bojangles, he was this dancer. And you're looking at all these people going, my God, look at these people. But you see, it was back in the day, it was post-war, mid-1950s. Television was just coming into vogue. People still walked. People still went up and down stairs. You didn't have escalators and elevators and everything else. People still had to do things manually, right? And everybody that was on that show was just fit and lean to a point where you go, oh my God, there's no fat anywhere. But people understood back then, eat your meat, right? We understood what to eat. We understood that you have to move. And it's something that we've largely forgotten, right? So there you have it, folks. Be more like the people on the Ed Sullivan Show.
We've lost the common part of common sense, right? Get up and do stuff really is the moral of the story, and eat the things you're supposed to eat. And if you want to put a little life into living every once in a while, that's okay. Just make it a once in a while thing. And Vinny, you know what works really well to stop a sugar or carbohydrate craving?
Go on.
A nice piping hot cup of black coffee.
Yeah.
Just to bring it full circle for you.
Yeah.
But seriously, anything that's more on the bitter side will cut that craving immediately. And so if you find yourself doing a little bit of life into living, grab yourself a little cup of coffee and cut it right out.
Look, I just have one of mine right here. Cup is still right here on my desk. Every time before I start a show, as you know, I'm sipping on an espresso, right? It's my thing. If when it's holiday time and there's treats and everything else, I always cut it with drinking coffee right after I have the dessert or whatever. It just cuts it for me right there, and I'm able to move on. Chris, we're going to call it right there. Folks, if you want to write to me and explain this Sydney Sweeney thing to me, please do, because I get what's going on. I'm not that dumb, but wow, things just come right up and they just blow right past me. Chris, anything you want to announce? Anything going on at any of the companies?
Nothing right now, other than we should have, by the time this comes out, I'm hoping we have the new site live, a big checklist of stuff that I'm going through over the next few days. But I'm going to be knocking through that between today and tomorrow, and we'll see if we can get that live before this comes out. So go check it out.
PureVitaminClub.com, PureCoffeeClub.com. Go to VinnieTortorich.com. At some point, we will open up the VIP group because with everything else Chris and I are working on, we are also working on finishing up the workouts, and they will be free for anyone in the VIP group. So make sure your name is on that list when we open it up. Get in immediately, and then you too will also be able to get those workouts for free. That's VinnieTortorich.com/VIP. If you want to find Chris, no, he can't be found, so don't worry about that. On behalf of Chris and me and Billy Joel, I said that wrong. I should have said between Chris and Billy Joel. My name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with the Piano Man.